Tutorial 1. In this tutorial we will see how the Dance Schowcase model has been programmed. Let's start with a list of songs that we will use for the choreographies of our show. Memories, Beginner's Course. The Duel, Kids Course 1. Fresh Ideas, Kids Course 2. Epic Battles, Intermediate Course. Rock Medley, Advanced Course. Then we take note of which other events might be during the evening. Open House, background music for as long as necessary. House Dark, the musical background fades. Show starts, recorded announcements to turn off mobile phones and not to take photos or videos. Interval, recorded announcement and background music again. So we put everything in chronological order. We use the labels Q1, Q2, Q3 and so on to indicate the various cues, and we will have these list. Obviously this is just a demo, so we stop at the interval after only 5 tracks. Your show will probably have many more. Let's start now to build our program. Q1. Open House. Main event, background music. Being a background that will last for a long time, the best solution is a playlist queue. We choose from the list a playlist queue and we add the songs we want. We decide an approximate level of volume. Then with this function of SCS, that automatically adjusts the volume peaks, we make sure that there are not too many changes between them. The choice between the 3 options, 80, 90 or 100, should be tested live to feel the best performance, but if you want it you can just use 80%. Then you can always adjust the volume during rehearsal. Let's give a title now to this cue. We also insert indications on when this cue must be started, for the benefit of who will use the program the evening of the show. Now, when should this cue actually start? At the time of opening house, so the manual start is the most appropriate. Q2. House Dark. Main event. Background music fades. To stop the background music we could simply lower the volume of the audio mixer or the volume of SCS, but if we want to make the best use of this software and be sure that the sound will be lowered at the exact time we want and in a very uniform way, we would use a SFR cue, a cue that acts on our previous Q1 open house. So let's choose SFR cue from the list. Here, we choose in detail how we want to act on the Q1 open house. Among the various options we choose, fade out and then hibernate. Hibernating a playlist cue means that it will freeze exactly at the point where the volume reaches 0 and will remain right there. When we will resume it, then it will start from that point. Below we decide the fade time. Clearly this cue will also have a manual start, as we will decide when the show can start. Finally, as in the previous one, we put a title and some indications on when to activate it. Q3. Show starts. Main event, recorded announcements. The 2 announcements are audio file that we have previously prepared. We choose audio cue from the list and we select the 2 files in the order in which we want them to be played. First the mobile phone's announcement and then that of the photos. SCS initially creates 2 different cues, however these are events that happen within the same cue. So we take the second one and we move it to become a sub-cue of the previous one. In this way we will have only one cue entitled Recorded Announcements. We listen to the 2 files and adjust the volume approximately. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the school theater. The show will start soon. Please.
We would like to remind you that any kind of audio or video recordings is strictly prohibited.
When do we want this cue to start? After the background music is faded. Then in the activation field we choose automatic start, 2 seconds, or any other time you want, after the end of the previous cue. The first announcement will then start automatically after the background music is faded. We'll put the other announcement 2 seconds away. Being a sub-cue, the time must be set in this position, choosing also after the end of the previous sub-cue. Finally, we arrange the title and indications for the operator. Q4. Memories, Beginner's Course. Main Event, Audio Track. This is still an audio cue. Let's load the file. The song will be choreographed in its entirety, so we do not need to change the beginning or end of the song. To be sure, however, that there are no unwanted silence zones at the beginning or end of the file, we use this SCS feature. As you can see, we can decide to cut the total silence or various levels of background noise. Here we see that the beginning and the end are automatically set in order to eliminate the silence. During the rehearsal, you can change the volume, live and move back and forth in the track with ease and speed. This is possible both in this editing window in which you program the show and in the execution window that you will use for the evening. Volume, balance and controls are always available. For the cue that contain the music of our choreography, we also set this option, Exclusive Cue. In this way, even if you inadvertently click the mouse or any other key, the command will be ignored and the music will not stop. But be careful. The button Stop Everything and the cue control keys are always active. If you want to completely avoid the risk of an inadvertent interruption, you can set the execution window so that these controls are not displayed. Like this. The only key that will remain active in each case is the escape key, which stops the program from running. Q5. The Duel. Kids Course 1. Main Event, Audio Track. We follow the same procedure as the previous cue. In this case, however, we do not want to use the whole song. Then, once the file is loaded, we manually choose the points where it should start and finish. Let's listen to it and find the starting point that we have in mind. Here, we enlarge the zoom and find the precise point. Done. Now let's see the end. We decide for a slow fade out from here. So we put a time to fade out of 8 seconds, rather long. Once again, we could ask the technician to manually fade at a certain point, but we would neither have exactly the same times as in rehearsal nor a similar fade each time. With SCS we will be able to refine it during rehearsal and straight away it's recorded in our program. As usual, we add the title and indications of when it should be started. In this case, for example, after the students are posing on the stage. Q6. Fresh Ideas. Kids Course 2. Main Event, Audio Track. In the next choreography we need to do a montage between one part and another of the music piece. Let's load the file. Now, we find the point where the first part should end. Now we duplicate the cue with the usual copy and paste procedure. Then we move the new cue inside the previous one, like a sub-cue. We then search for the beginning and the end of this second part of the song. This second section of the song will obviously start immediately after the previous one, so we put in this field 0 seconds, after the end of the previous sub-cue. Let's go into the execution window to hear the montage. We quickly pass on to immediately listen to the cut. No, there's something wrong. Let's check. With a zoom we can see more in detail and find the exact point. That's the point. Okay, now these should be right. As you can see, we made an important change in a few seconds. No CD to burn, no other software. Any retouching can be done during the rehearsal and experience the best solution on the spot. Q7. Epic Battles. Intermediate Course. Main Event, Audio Track. In this choreography we will see how to insert slides as a background and how to make them change exactly where we want. First of all, we load the piece. Then we create a video image sub-cue with all the photos we want. Each video image cue is designed as a slideshow, so it fulfills our purpose in itself. We upload the images. The images chosen may have different sizes, a different format, but we can make them uniform by choosing the full screen option. If some photos are too deformed using this option, such as this one, we can use the controls to resize it and position it as we want. This sub-cue will have to start with the music, and we can choose a time to fade in and one to fade out. Also, for each image we will choose a display time and, if needed, a crossfading time with the next image. Listening to music we will decide where we want the changes. We take note of the time, and by doing some calculation we insert the values. In this case we have made these choices. The first picture remains visible for 6 seconds and then suddenly changes with the second one. The second one will remain for 6 seconds, then it will crossfade with the next in 4 seconds. The third one will remain visible 12 seconds and will make a crossfade in 8 seconds with the next one. The fourth will remain for 30 seconds and will fade in the fifth in 8 seconds. The fifth remains for 24 seconds and dissolves in 2 seconds towards the last. The last one will last 1 minute and will fade out for 40 seconds. Being the last image, this fade time is shown here, as the fade out time of the entire sub-cue. Cue 8. Rock Medley. Advanced Course. Main Event, Audio Track. The next choreography will be a mix between 3 pieces. We load all 3 files and make them be part of one cue. In case they are not in the desired order, you can move them with these arrows. Then we start to cut every song where we need. Here, just here. Then the second. We'll start it from here. By the end we will use a fade out from here. The third song will start with a fade in from here and continue until the end. Now let's see how to connect the 3 tracks. The first starts immediately with the beginning of the cue, so you do not need to indicate anything in these fields. The second must start after the end of the first and then insert 0 seconds after the end of the previous sub-cue. The third must start when the second begins to fade. So let's read the time in the previous section. The fade starts here and this point is at 43.68 seconds from the beginning of this part. Then we will put in the third track, start at 43.68 seconds after the start of the previous sub-cue. Cue 9. Interval. Main event, announcement and resume background music. To announce the interval we have a short recorded announcement, so let's start with an audio cue. Let's load the file. We listen and adjust the volume.
The show will resume after 15 minutes of interval.
Manual start. Then we add a SFR sub-cue to reactivate the hibernate background. Among the options that we have, let's use resume hibernating cue, with fade in if applicable. Then we indicate which cue should be resumed, the cue 1 open house. And we indicate a time of fading in. This SFR sub-cue must start at the end of the announcement, then 0 seconds after the end of the previous sub-cue. In the second part of the tutorial we will see the complete execution of this program.